the Word itself became flesh, so that our speaking would be incarnational also, such that we would put our lives behind our words and change things. Is that, do we understand it?
Mm-hmm.
So that I wrote something down earlier this week. I wrote down this, explain in 100 words. We gather hearts into a house. People, you know, the old saying is that the church is not the building, it's the people. We gather hearts into a house, put them through a retuning rite of maturational transformation unto true speech in the image of God, one and many.
Hello.
So that in the Bible, there, in the New Testament particularly, the Greek Testament, there's a lot of what they call one anothering one another. So I'm calling this the one anothering revolution. We go through the sequence of law, lyric, evaluation, and fact, as Dr. Jordan has put out in the Crisis, Opportunity, and the Christian Future. And similar to all of the revolutions that have happened. And we will show this. This is kind of Through New Eyes, the musical, I'm claiming. In other words, we're all somewhat similar to notes in a symphony of history.
Through New Eyes is a book that Jim Jordan wrote about symbolism in the Bible.
And he takes us, well, last week you studied the creation is God's house, and these are some of the mansions.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that happens when you get an explanation is it seems like a lot because it's sort of an uber explanation of the Bible, the world, and all of time. And so you would expect it to be a little complicated. But it's actually what Chuck has come up with is, among other things, it's trying to follow the structures of the Bible. And the scriptures have been used and read in many ways in the past, but mostly people have not paid a lot of attention to the foundational ways that the scripture is laid out. And so mostly people have said, oh, that's weird. It rained 40 days and 40 nights, and Jesus was in the wilderness 40 days and 40 nights. Oh well. But Jordan's approach and Chuck's approach is to say, well, whenever God says something, it's significant. And he's giving us patterns over and over to look at. And so we have 6 days of creation, and we see patterns of sixes, and we have the 12 sons of Israel, and we see 12s all over, and we see all of these things seem to be really information that God has given us when we say, I don't know how to study and understand the Bible. He gives us these clues that we can work out and follow. We see, we've been talking about the 4 testaments of the Bible, where you have the first testament that talks, that's basically do this, don't do this. It's got the history, and it's got the regulations of stuff you're supposed to do, and that's the priestly or the ox testament. You've got the kingly testament where David and Solomon and the others are building on what came before. So they have a Bible. They have the first testament, and they're living the Christian life, as it were, out of that Bible. And then the prophets come, and they have the first 2 testaments. They have the ox testament or the priestly testament, and then they have Lion or Kingly Testament, and so they get to read the First Testament and the Second Testament, and David and Solomon didn't have the Second Testament to read because they were living it. And then you have, so the prophets are going through and saying, look at how this worked out, and then look at how this worked out, and now this is how this is going to work out. And then when Christ comes and gives us the final revelation, then his apostles say, look at how this worked out, look at how this worked out, look at how the prophets said this was going to work out, and here Jesus came, and now this is how it works out. And we see those patterns happening over and over in the life of individuals and in the life of the church and so forth. Do you have questions so far? Did this all go underneath or over top or around?
Does it, I think there's generalizations that are apparent and are important from that, but then there's things that aren't so neat, like we talk about the prophetic period with some distinction from the kingly period, and there's anyone should be able to see that, but they should also recognize that a huge amount of prophecy was given through David, the king,
Mm-hmm.
And through Moses, the prophet. There would be a prophet like him, and so there's these periods that sort of function in a way, in a kind of a way, that before they had the kings and before they had judges, during the judges, the people did what was right in their own eyes, etc. I mean, it's a refrain, and I think there's value in looking at this stuff. I just, when I read through some of this, I didn't read the whole thing because I couldn't make sense of it, and I wasn't going to make any more sense of it after a few pages, I didn't think so. But I read the front, and I wasn't getting it. It seemed like there's a lot of specific things and connections that are being made at the expense of other ways that you can take those things. And I'm trying to figure out where we're headed with it all, I guess. Not in, and I guess I'm hoping that it's not a really specific place in a sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think overall, where we're headed is, well, it's always lots of things. It's different things for different people. One of the things that we're doing is not so much. I think it's not so much saying we want to get to this point as saying we need to learn how to travel, and we need to train our minds to think in terms of biblical structures. And so what we're doing is we're following these structures, and we're kind of saying we don't know where this will end up for individual questions. It's a different sort of serendipity than instead of flipping through the Bible and looking for verses, we're tracing how the Bible works and speaks, and trying to rearrange our thinking so that when we recognize a connection, we go, oh, okay, this is an interesting connection.